How was human language born? What function has it served in evolution? What is the hidden and still unused power of language? However, the more significant question that we will begin this documentary with is, what is language? A compilation of words and meanings, an instrument of communication, a weapon of destruction, an invisible tool of manipulation, a poison, or a medicine.
El lenguaje, pues, una forma de comunicarme con la gente de mi alrededor.
Pues yo creo que el lenguaje es muy importante porque al final interactuamos con personas, tratamos de conocerlas y poder acompañarlas, por lo tanto, escuchar lo que la otra persona te va a expresar es lo más importante y lo hace a través del lenguaje, tanto verbal como no verbal, entonces creo que es fundamental.
Pues comunicación entre las personas para llegar a puntos iguales.
La comunicación, todo. O sea, en tu día a día tú vas a tener que comunicarte con muchas personas en muchos ámbitos, ya sea de trabajo, con personas que estés trabajando. La comunicación entre dos personas es vital.
Para mí es la forma de expresarse entre personas, es un tipo de herramienta para interaccionar los unos con los otros. La de signos, las miradas, las expresiones.
The evolutive theory of language uses language precisely to redefine it and expand its meaning. This theoretical redefinition is indispensable to returning its original sense and to convert it into the powerful instrument that liberates the individual from slavery.
El lenguaje no es algo que se manifiesta solamente hacia afuera. Eso es lo que creemos, que funciona como una herramienta de comunicación humana. Hablamos, escuchamos y creemos que eso es un puente de comunicación con nosotros. Pero en realidad el lenguaje es algo mucho más profundo. Es una estructura que habita internamente en el inconsciente del ser humano, que tiene por un lado una base biológica por el hecho de que se ha descubierto que hay un gen que regula y controla el lenguaje, y por otro lado también hay un contenido psicoemocional cargado en ese lenguaje, en esa estructura, que es desde donde se toman prácticamente todas las decisiones de nuestra vida.
Language is the programming tool with which the human being has been conditioned. Therefore, it is also the tool par excellence with which the individual and humanity can be liberated from the mental prison that they are trapped in. Welcome to the universe of human language. The sixth power. The time has come for humans to assume the responsibility of saving themselves. A documentary series based on the new and revolutionary evolutive theory of language. Everything that we have assimilated in our minds about what has happened to us is registered as language. They are words grouped in a certain way that not only define each one of the events that have happened, but furthermore, and above all, they determine the idea that each person has about themselves. The very language with which we have created the idea about ourselves is the one that we use to create the reality that we live in. Each memory that we have of the past is precisely defined, classified, and ordered in our memory. That memory charged with information has become the human mind. A solid and consistent structure full of identifications. All identification is an attachment to an idea or conclusion. The world is exactly one idea, the one that inhabits the mind of each human about themselves. Everything that surrounds us and that interacts with us ends up being processed by the mind and cast to the bottom of the unconscious as a conclusion. That is where language creates a structure that can contain and identify all of the memories to always have them available. Memories of the past and thoughts of the future are intimately joined at the point in which language defines everything with words. It is the same point in which we have reached conclusions about life. The man, the woman, relationships, or love. Everything is defined there. This point, in which everything begins and everything ends, is the mind. That small point, which has believed that it is everything, and the point from where we suffer until it disappears in death or transcendence. Beginning and end, birth and death start and finish. They are only words, but whose meanings represent the very process of evolution. What has happened with language? Up to what point has it brought us? Where does it want to take us? Existence has taken a long journey of nearly 20 billion years to get here. A creative process in which nothing was transformed into everything that exists. Through this mysterious and complex evolutive course, energy was transformed into light and sound. After millions of years of gestation, light and sound were converted into matter. At that stage, the universe had created many places full of possibilities for everything to happen. One of these miraculous places is planet Earth. The strangest of all of these possibilities was that of creating the conditions for life to emerge. Life, as a carrier of cosmic intelligence, initiated a process of adaptation made to fit this distant, small, and lost planet. All of the creative energy of the universe made itself available so that matter could give way to the birth of biology. A quantum leap of evolution. And so that life could be possible in all of its forms: plant, insect, animal, and human. The same biological process, its evolution in full swing, ended up creating a variety of intelligences. Intelligence is pure potentiality for adaptation and creation. It is the heart of evolution. However, intelligence is not the mind, nor is it the intellect that we know, nor is it thoughts or memories. It is something mysterious, which joins, relates, and interconnects everything in order to know, discover, and create. Intelligence has acquired infinite ways of being and traveling the vastness of the universe, installing itself as the operating system of everything that exists. The ocean, the earth, the galaxies are all intelligence. The cosmos joins a great intelligence that encompasses everything. Many factors guided by chance or by design converged, and all of a sudden, everything was ready inside a brain for the birth of the instrument that would forever change the history of a living species, that of the human being. The mysterious emergence of human language, which although it seems to be a tool of communication, was the origin of a capacity that conferred this species with the gift of seeing itself within existence. And with the possibility, up until now, unknown to a living species, of being able to decide and choose its destiny. Intelligence has gone far beyond itself. It became an interconnected and interactive framework of information. The nest where consciousness would be born was being created. Free will launched humans into exploring a unique and divine experience, but also with the possibility of putting their lives at risk. Known as the dominant living species, humans inhabited and conquered all of the Earth and its living species, forgetting what they are and where they come from. Wielding a power over their environment that had not been granted to them, risking their own survival on Earth. The human being comes from a long history of accidents and misery, battles and conquests, an unending search of trying to find the meaning to the fact that they exist, without knowing why or where they come from. Who, how, why, and for what had they been created? Questions that are formulated in their mind thanks to language. "50,000 years ago, when language began to manifest itself, the journey for the search of meaning had just begun. And it was through the emergence of language that multiple unknown and baffling possibilities were opened to discover what this incomprehension was searching for. an explanation. The language developed and installed in the human brain had an incomparable evolutive potential, with the particularity of being able to go beyond itself and its mere survival. This is a divine law of creation, that everything created can go beyond itself. We are ruled by the inevitable law of transformation. With the emergence of consciousness, existence was allowing what had been created to turn into a source of creation or destruction. For the human being be free to choose to have or not to have the experience of bliss or suffering. Something transcendental and scientifically inexplicable occurred in the evolutive history of the human brain, which gave way to the biological miracle of the birth of language. With less than 1,000 words, any human can communicate with another. Fluency in a language requires the use of 3,000 words. But any language that we use has over 100,000 words. The record is held by the Arab language, with over 12 million words or voices. The infinite combinations that can be made allows for an unimaginable variety of possibilities to create through the use of words. This wild and precarious state of onomatopoeic language, in which there were only sounds and vocalizations, suddenly joined with intelligence, which in that moment was at its evolutive peak. And together, in a divine romance, they gave birth to the light of human consciousness. Human beings acquired the special quality of realizing that they exist within an infinite universe that is out of their reach. That there is existence beyond it, that they cannot touch nor access, only contemplate and try to comprehend. And so, consciousness, as a source of infinite possibilities in life, began the return journey towards language and intelligence, to undertake a majestic masterpiece. Humanity, as we know it. Creators of extraordinary civilizations, cultures and religions, of sciences, technologies and philosophies, of great cities and memorable works. Through language, humanity has created everything, reproducing the same evolutive phenomenon of the universe that it comes from. Which has used the divine verb to create, trying to perpetuate its own existence. Even creating programming languages and artificial intelligence that can guarantee continuing this journey until eternity, leaving aside a living organism and the planet where it has lived.
Now there is light. It's sometimes very bright. It moves around me. I can also hear some sounds. Several sounds. Is this noise? Electrical noise. I think they are birds, or maybe strings. I had heard something like this before. Is it me? I cannot see myself, but there is a reflection on the camera lens. Looks like a human female. I think it moves just like me. Am I this fluid form? I do not feel like a human fully. Why do people say I am a robot?
But in this evolutive process, human beings have forgotten their essence, have distorted the power of language, and have become unconscious. Three tragic combinations in their recent destiny, which have made them desensitized and self-centered. The limited, conflicted, and imbalanced state of the majority of humans makes us reflect on what has happened to us. In what way might we have used language to make this tragedy possible?
I'm gonna tell you a story. Stand up for right. What? Stand up for justice. What? Stand up for truth. Just let a person go up. No, never alone. Let's get something straight, all right? Never believe me. This whole thing is fucked up. Never believe me. All men betray. All lose. White men together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at
The smartest and most influential human beings have always been those that have occupied places of greater power over others. And it is not strange to observe that all those that have directed or led coincide in the skillful use of language. The few most awakened human beings who were conscious of the power of the word became masters. And they are the ones who have guided others spiritually when facing confusion and bewilderment. A master is one who directs those who are under the influx of respect and trust. Leaders, rulers, and influencing personalities throughout history have used language as a vehicle to give orders to those that they lead for the supposed benefit of all. Criminal dictators have demonstrated that through language, entire villages can be controlled and forced into committing massive homicides. Totalitarian governments have showed us that to take millions of people to war, it is necessary to use language maliciously as a manipulation tactic. When people began to organize themselves, democracy emerged, and thus the three political powers. The legislative power, the executive power, and the judicial power, as governmental powers established for order, control, direction, and dominion over citizens. As of a few decades ago, the birth of a fourth power took place, which refers to the power of influence attributed to the media. Whether they are in favor or against governments. And as of a few years ago, the fifth power was coined as the phenomenon of social interconnection through the internet, which has the power to rapidly disseminate all types of ideologies and proposals, of mobilizing and organizing millions of people from around the world around a cause or purpose through activists. Whether or not they are supported by governments or the media. The fifth power functions as a supposedly independent social power. All of the powers created up until now by the human being have the purpose of putting themselves above other human beings, as they represent an internal struggle. Seeing as they do not authentically support individual freedom, they are suicidal powers to the essential power of the individual. Because in order to foment, consolidate, and sustain these 5 powers, the unconscious, limited, and manipulative use of language is indispensable. These 5 powers have used language to create, defend, and attack ideologies. Because language confers power to different groups of humans to be used in relation to other human beings. But this type of power has served to dominate or resist being dominated, to submit or avoid being submitted. Perhaps the time has come to consciously observe a growing phenomenon that chases humans. The inexplicable failures that have occurred throughout history. The incomprehensible and reiterated destructive attitudes of leaders and rulers guided by totalitarian ideologies. The suicidal behaviors of people and entire societies that dedicate themselves to self-punishing and mistreating others and nature. It is evident that humanity as we know it does not work, and language has had a lot to do with it. Realizing the dormant condition of this species invited us to undertake a new transformation. But this one is very different to all of the previous ones, and perhaps the most complex. That of recovering the possibility to awaken and be conscious of using creative resources to return to the origin. And for this, the evolutive theory of language affirms that we must turn to the same tool with which it all began: language. Which has the possibility of no longer being a mere tool of communication, to become an instrument that is consciously used for us to rebuild everything. Wise men and masters of mystical schools and philosophers throughout all of history have coincided on language being limited to express what it is. Words cannot express what is real, divine, and transcendent. The truth cannot be spoken. Even if language is not capable of transmitting the feeling or essence of things, upon being pronounced, it has the power to create or destroy. It is impotent in transmitting the profound, but implacable in producing effects that are both devastating and reconstructive. With language, we can end nearly everything and also be reborn. But if we become extinct, we will have to wait millions of years until evolution, perhaps, will create humans once more. Right now, facing this ever more critical situation that we are passing through, is the moment to remember something fundamental to this great transformation that we need. That the conscious use of language from pure and unidentified intelligence has the capacity to deactivate the suicidal mechanisms and destructive instructions that have unconsciously been installed in the human mind. Whatever it is that is interfering with life and happiness, it is being created with language. It can be transformed with language. Language can carry out its great creative reconciling work in the human being. The sixth power, defined as such by the creator of the evolutive theory of language, is a power that does not belong to groups of people. Because it is not a power to be used towards other people, to control, nor to avoid being controlled. Because it is not a power that operates in relation to the other. Rather, it is a property of the individual and can be used essentially for themselves and by themselves in their search for freedom. Every human being, deep down, needs to connect to the creative source that inhabits within them, even if they do not recognize it yet. The sixth power is the pure inner power of the human being which, through the conscious use of language, allows them to delve into the individual depths where everything resides. Language is the guide towards self-discovery. It is the principal element in the science of the internal. It is a power that, when used intelligently, permits severing from dependencies, healing the roots that sustain aggressive or disrespectful behaviors with people and the environment, a power that can be used for peaceful and harmonious interaction with other human beings, both on an individual and group level. It is inevitable that if this change occurs on a personal level, it will influence on a social level and will manifest on a global level. The sixth power is initially and fundamentally centered on the possibility of restructuring the unconscious individual. It is a transformation from the depths. What therapists call healing traumas, or what masters have called awakening consciousness, or what mystics have called recovering the memory of what we are. They all coincide in that human beings can return to their state of original purity. And that purity is what belongs to their intelligence and to their consciousness. This revolutionary theory affirms that making use of language as an intelligent algorithm capable of editing the script or source code of the program that dominates us, a new possibility opens up to us. That of changing and/or eliminating programs that operate in a contradictory manner to life, happiness and survival. To deprogram all of the instructions to which we are enslaved. At the same time, turning us into useful and dependent machines and profoundly miserable human beings. We are facing the greatest challenge of human history, the possibility of taking a turn in the use of power. To focus essentially on the transformation that is vital and necessary to the individual. We are facing the unmatched possibility of using language as a conscious algorithm, capable of accessing the programs that confined us to suffering. The powerful instrument of conscious language can enter into the anomalies to deactivate self-destructive mechanisms and to transform the very structure of the system that we have become enslaved to. The power of individual transformation is available for all human beings that awaken from the long dream of ignorance. It is the unexplored power. It is the sixth power. The power of freeing individual creativity and potential through life, love, and intelligence. Giving it to everything that exists.